So in today's video, I'm going to be taking you through all the fundamentals that you'll need to know in regards to trading on Sorare. So leave a like if you do enjoy the video, subscribe if you are new to the channel, lads. If you're completely new to Sorare and you are yet to sign up, there is a link in the description of this video that will get you free market credits once you've purchased your first 5 cards from the auctions on Sorare. Now, I've had a few messages over the last few weeks asking me to explain the basics of trading on Sorare, and there's quite a few things to get through. So in the video today, I'm going to be addressing bots versus traders and explaining what bots are, same for traders as well. Then we're going to look into the fundamentals, so listing, how you lose XP on cards, counter offers, etc. Just kind of going through all the basics of just trading in general. We'll go through the best ways to contact other users that want to sell cards or you want to trade cards with. And last but not least, we will cover the sort of dark side of trading where a lot of people have been scammed. New players sometimes don't really understand how the UI works. And yes, sometimes it can get a little bit tricky when it comes to trading if you're going back and forth with somebody who's like counter offering all the time. So we'll kick things off then with the bots versus traders. Now, there's a couple that we'll mention in this video. One being Sorare. I've just highlighted him because that was the first one that came to my head. But basically, it is a bot, an algorithm, or whatever you want to call it, that if you send your cards to, they will spit you back a counter offer a lot of the time with, what he demands off you or the bot demands off you as far as your deal goes. They all work in a similar way. So you've got Sorare, you've got Basel bot, who is another bot, of course. We've got Ruv, who is a swap bot as well. They all have their instructions in their bio here. As you can see, if you want to swap your cards, he will add 20% on to the amount that his cards are worth in comparison to yours. And if you want to try and sell your cards to Ruv, for example, you would just click this Faiz card and then you would go to trade. You would list the card you want to try and get rid of. So you can just add them all in, for example. You click done and then you would just send the trade basically. And he would spit you back out a trade offer. Sometimes he'll reject it if he doesn't want those cards, for example, and sometimes he'll give you a trade offer back, which could contain cash or ETH. That's how he works. I think we have a couple more. Satonio. So Satonio deals mainly in limited cards. So he has 120,000 limited cards, which is nuts, and he has just under 5,000 rares. So for example, if I'm after a rare card that he owns, let's just call it Murata, I would go to Murata, I would click trade. I would then, look to the cards that I want to stake. So, let's say I want to sell my Jefferson Lerma to him, or trade my Jefferson Lerma, should I say. Then I click OK. Now, of course, he has his Murata up for £60, right? I think it is. Lerma's roughly worth £30 if you look on, last sales. So if I send this trade, chances are he's not going to accept it because Murata's obviously worth double, effectively, Lerma, really on paper. So, and then we'll see what he spits back. We need to do our 2-factor authentication. So that is done. The trade off has been sent. Now, he could just full on reject it, or he could send us a counter offer, and it looks like he has rejected it. So as you can see, it says rejected. He didn't even spit us back a counter offer, and that can happen with bots. Bots are getting more and more picky, I would say, with the cards that they're willing to take on. And so, yeah, sometimes though, there is a few ways to get around that. So if I add the Lerma again and I add a little bit of ETH, or let's just say I add £2, sometimes that triggers the bot to think, okay, well, let me just offer or counter offer with more cash. So yeah, sometimes that works with certain bots. It doesn't with others. We'll see if that works with Satonio here. But, bots at the end of the day, they're looking for a margin. Some of them will overvalue their cards by 20%, 25% a lot of the time. And that's just, how they work. That's how they're sort of making their money, their margins in the game. And if you are dealing with bots and traders for that matter, but we haven't got into traders yet, if you're dealing with either or, they are going to be, on paper, winning the trade a lot of the time because you're going to have to overspend, whether that's 10, 20, 30% extra, because of course they work on margins. So we have had a counter offer back from Satonio, and as you can see, he just wants us to give him ETH. He doesn't want to take the Jefferson Lerma. He just wants £54 in ETH for me to, accept that Murata. Of course, I could counter that offer, and I could put in, £50, and potentially he would maybe accept, maybe not. You obviously have to just test the bot out in that sense. But you can see he didn't want the Lerma. A lot of the time, these bots are quite picky. I don't want Murata, so I am going to reject that. But I was just kind of showing you guys a little example of how that works, with a bot. Now, with a trader, for example, they're basically the same thing. It's just more manual, right? You're just basically trading with a person, not a bot. They work off similar percentages. So for example, Pavel Trader, if you don't know, he's basically got the most cards in Sorare. He's an absolute beast of a Sorare manager. He's got nearly 150,000 limiteds, nearly 50,000 rares. He's been around for ages. He's been around since the dawn of time on Sorare. So yeah, he's one of the ones where, has made a living off just trading cards on Sorare, basically from the very beginning, and has worked up to a point where, yeah, he's able to kind of do this as like a full-time gig. I think he's got like multiple people working for him as far as I'm aware. So yeah, this one, works similar to a bot. You do the same thing, in that, like, if you won whatever card off him, so say if I won this Joe Willis, for example, I go into trade, I sort of put up the cards I want to offer up, click send, and hope Pavel either counter offers you and doesn't ask for an extortionate amount, because a lot of the time he does. There's been a lot of like critics out for Pavel because, yeah, his pricing is just a bit wild. Like, it gets tough when we're going into super rares, but I guess a lot of you guys who are watching this, you're going to be playing at limited and probably rare level. So I guess one of the differences between a bot and a trader, of course, the bot is going to automatically spit you out their counter offer. Like, you don't really need to do any of the calculations elsewhere. Not that you really need to do that elsewhere with a trader. If you're dealing with Pavel, for example, and you want to buy a card off him, and you don't know, for example, how much of a percentage he wants on top of the cards that you're trying to buy. Now, I know a lot of people use the trade builder on Sorare Data, which is a third-party data provider for Sorare. I don't have a link in the description for you to sign up to Sorare Data, but if you've not signed up and you want to take Sorare seriously, Sorare Data is the place to do that. I pay for a membership there myself. But yeah, basically, over on Market, you can go into Trade Builder, and you can go in and build a trade with whatever user you want to choose. So we'll go and pretend we're going to trade with Pavel, and you basically just add cards on either side to kind of weigh up what I need to offer him for him to accept the potential trade. So I noticed Pavel had a Mateus Bogusz who plays for LAFC in the MLS, right? So Sorare Data will tell us the actual price right now of a Bogusz, which is £16.50. So I know if Pavel's working off a 29% or 129% margin, most bots and traders have their percentage listed in their bio, like I mentioned already. So Pavel works off 129%, but let's just call it 130, right? So this Bogusz is £16.50. So technically, on paper, Pavel's going to want cards that value around 21 to 22 pounds on my side for him to accept that offer. So I go into my gallery and I have a look at my cards, and we'll basically try and come up with a trade that on paper Pavel should accept if he's going off his recent sales. So I've added 2 rare cards there, right? So David Bate and Monchu, those cash/floor average prices is £23. So that is just over the 129% that Pavel would want. But you get the point. Basically, you always have to overpay to get the card you want from a trader or a bot. Like, they're working off margins. Pavel, of course, works off 129%. But keep in mind, Pavel might work off last average sales, which, if we look at those, Pavel's not winning this deal if he was to accept it, because the last average sale of Bogusz was £26, whereas the last average sale of my cards were only just under £21. So if he was to work off last average sales, I would need to add more cards to my side to make it 129% in favor of Pavel for him to accept that deal. So I'm basically going to need to add a card worth, let's say, another 10 quid, realistically. Let's just add Galesic in. So that would make it, yeah, so last average sales, £32. Bogusz's last average sales, £26. You're roughly working off a 20, 25%, 30% margin there for Pavel. So, on paper, Pavel should accept this. Now, I'm not going to send him this trade, but that's just for you to understand, like, the type of margins that he's working off and other traders work off. Look, there definitely is, a room for traders and bots to exist in the game, in that it can be useful. Like, if you have 5 or 6 rubbish cards that you kind of don't want to use and can't use anymore for whatever reason, and you want to turn that into like one semi-decent card, well, you might have to list those 6 cards, send them to Pavel. He might spit back a counter offer and says, okay, I'll take those 6 cards, but I want $10 on top or whatever. And a lot of the time, Pavel is going to win those trades, because that is how that's how these traders and bots work. They work off a percentage where they can't lose, but it is very favorable in their way basically. So yeah, be cautious on using bots and traders in that sense. I mean, the alternative to not using them is just to list your card, right? And that kind of takes us on to the next section of this video, I would say, in that we'll just go through the fundamentals. So as you can see here, I am selling a few cards that I've recently won, or listed cards that I've recently won, and we'll do it with a card over here. So let's have a look at this card here. So random rare card, it doesn't matter who it is. All you have to do is go to list card, and then you get prompted with this screen. Now, you basically just get to choose your price. So if you want to do it in ETH, you can, or if you do it in pounds. Now, whether I list him at £10 or 0.0039 ETH, it depends on what the buyer or, whoever wants to buy that card, they can offer me cash or they can offer me ETH. You can turn that off in your settings. So if you just want to play with ETH or just want to play with cash, you can do that. You don't have to accept both, but I am. And then as you can see here, there is a market fee on this card. So Sorare themselves take a 5% market fee on this card specifically. So if I sold him for £10, I would lose 50 pence of that, or Sorare would take 50 pence and I would receive £9.50. And of course you can choose the duration of your listing. So I mean, you might as well list it for as long as possible, really. Like 7 days would probably be the easiest. And yeah, I mean, it just saves you having to relist the card every day if you were to do it by every day. But that's that's the sort of fundamentals of just listing a card. And then at that point, that card then is on the market. So you go into manager sales, and this is where every card that a Sorare manager is looking to sell right now is on the market. Similar to eBay, right? You have a marketplace, and then of course, there's all these filters which helps you condense, the search. So for example, if I want to look for Man City cards at limited level, I would toggle limited. I would go down to league, and then I would go and search Premier League. I would click that. So there's 4,800 Premier League limited cards. I would then go team, and then I would search Man City, and then that will bring up all the limited Man City cards for me. Now, if I was to go into one of these cards, so for example, let's go into Edison, I will then see all the Edison listings. A couple of other fundamentals that we definitely need to mention is, just negotiating with somebody. So I've been sent a offer for my Smolik card, and I've been sent a Orjan Nyland and 50 pence, okay? So I can either accept it, of course I can reject it, but I can counter offer him as well. So you get brought up to this screen, and of course I know he wants this Smolik card, so I'm not gonna add any more. I mean, you could add more cards, but it's obvious that he just wants that card, right? I want more cash than that, because you could look at the last limited sales here and go, okay, 4 hours ago he sold for that amount of ETH. Smolik is worth, to be fair, a little bit less than that. So on paper, I'm getting a good deal here, in theory, because the last sold Nyland went for more than the last sold Smolik. Now, of course, they could move club and things could change and whatever, so valuations are never exact. But on paper, this is a good deal for me, objectively, because I'm getting a little bit of cash. I know it's only 50 pence, but I'm also getting a card that is worth more than mine, if we're going off last sale price. But say if I wasn't happy with that deal, I could then counter offer him. So I could add, I want £4, not 50 pence. I go into review counter offer, and then I would just, send him that offer, and he would then get prompted with a screen that says, accept, counter, or reject, and we just go back and forth that way, basically. The other thing you can do, so if you do click reject, you'll then get prompted with a screen, which gives you the option to explain to the other player that wants your card why you want to decline the offer. So you only want money, your offer is too low, I don't want to sell, I want more money, I am playing that card in a lineup, and I do not want to swap those cards that he's offered, basically. So you can kind of have a discussion without having some sort of chat feature, which I'd love Sorare to have, but it doesn't. Now, the alternative to this, if I wanted to speak to this guy and negotiate with him, I click on his name up there, and then that brings me to his Sorare gallery page. Now, up here, I can either click on his Twitter or I can click his Discord. Now, Twitter and Discord are the main two platforms the Sorare managers use to discuss trades. I use both. There's other people that don't use any, and they just use Sorare itself and use those prompts that I showed you a few minutes ago. And it's completely up to you if you want to have a Discord, if you want to have a Twitter. Obviously, it's easier to negotiate deals if you are wanting to do that. But if you don't want to and you want to be a bit more incognito and whatever, then yeah, just don't have Twitter and Discord and just kind of use Sorare itself. I know plenty of people that do that, and that's fine. But I'm just telling you that the main two platforms is Twitter and Discord. But yeah, all you have to do is just copy their Discord name. You would add them as a friend, and then you just get chatting. Or obviously on Twitter, it actually sends you to their Twitter, which is pretty nice. And you can just sort of DM them from there or follow them from there. Yeah, that's the best way to get hold of somebody if you are interested in a card. Now, one important thing I do need to mention is when you are buying a card from another user, on the platform. So let's take Kylian Mbappe, for example. We'll go to his rare cards. As you can see, every card has an XP value. So, the max amount of XP a card can have, or the max level it can be at, is level 20. I'm going to move my face cam down here for a second because I want to show you guys something. But as you can see here, there's a bar which states, the level that the card is at. Like I said, the max level is 20, and that would mean a card would have 10 XP. So this Kylian Mbappe is level 11. Now, if I was to buy this Mbappe, the card would lose 1.5% XP. So it would go from having 5.5% XP to 4, which is what is displayed. So Sorare do a good job of showing you that, okay, if I was to buy any of these cards, XP that you see on the screen right now, like 5.5, 4, 5, 4.5, if I was to buy those cards right now, that would be the XP that my card would have in my own gallery. If you hover over it, though, it does show you that, well, actually, the card actually has 6% XP. But if I was to buy that card, it would then fall down to 4.5. So in simple terms, if you're going to buy a card off the market, the XP that you see on the card is what you will receive in your gallery, not what it is, for the other player right now. So like I said, this guy's got 6% on his Mbappe. But if it was to transfer to me, and I bought the card, it would be on 4.5%. So the last little topic we're going to discuss is the scamming that can happen on occasions if you are in a trading battle with somebody, for example. So we'll go back to the trade that I was offered for this Smolik card. So this is how it usually works. I won't be able to show you it live because I'm not trading with this guy actively, if that makes sense. This is just an example, but somebody would offer you a trade. So for example, like I've got on screen here, I've been offered a trade for my Smolik. If I'm not happy with the original offer, but I do want to negotiate with him, I'll send back, actually no, I want £1 or whatever. And then I send the counter offer. He would receive the counter offer. And what some users have been known to do in the past is they'll then add another card on my side. So they'll get prompted with a screen like this, and they would add, let's say, I don't know, my unique Ivan Angulo, for example. Like, I've done that myself here because I can't show you the guy doing it, if that makes sense. But what can happen is, it's not as obvious if you're only trading one card for one card. But if you've got multiple cards on either side, so let me just add a couple cards in here. And say we were going back and forth a few times. Sometimes people can be a bit sneaky and they can add in an extra card or add in a bit of ETH on your side, meaning that I would have to actually give you ETH plus the cards that I've put up for your cards. Whereas, originally he was going to give me 50 pence for, on top of his card for my Smolik. So it gets tricky, and I know I haven't been able to show you guys the exact example because I'm not in a live trade with someone or a counter offer battle with somebody. But you get what I'm saying. If there's multiple cards on either side, you can kind of come to see that somebody could be quite sneaky and add a bit of ETH on your side that you don't actually notice until you've accepted the offer. And I've seen it happen hundreds of times on Twitter where, newcomers have been stung. And yeah, there's people out there that are doing this. And yeah, just have your wits about you because it can happen. And yeah, just be, extra careful before accepting any trade deal. If anything looks too good to be true, it usually is. And yeah, just sort of proceed with caution, because if you are negotiating for multiple cards on either side, it is quite easy sometimes to not notice, a card or two being slipped in there. There are some people out there, as horrible as it sounds, that are looking to pull one over on you. So yeah, just be careful. So to recap, we've gone over what a bot is, what a trader is, kind of what their intentions are. We've got the fundamentals, so listing cards for X duration of time. You pay market fees to Sorare on some of the cards you sell. Not all of them. Depends if Sorare have a license or an active license with that club. So there'll be some cards that you sell that don't have a market fee. And you'll sort of see, and you'll be able to see that once you list that card for sale. Don't forget the loss of XP when you're selling a card or when receiving a card. And of course, proceed with caution with the counter offers. You can contact other users on Twitter and Discord mainly for negotiating trades, but if you don't want to do that, of course you can just use Sorare itself and use the little tick boxes, if you don't want to sell a card or you want more cash or whatever, to explain your reasoning when rejecting a card. So lads, let me know in the comment section if there's anything else in regards to trading that you'd like me to cover, maybe in another video, or I can just answer it in the comment section. But I do hope this video has been helpful for you guys, and if it was, please do leave it a like, and of course comment below as well if you did enjoy it. I hope you have a great day, I hope you have a great game week, and I shall see you guys in the next video.